The National Assembly Select Committee has made a strong recommendations for the extension of the state of public emergency for additional 21 days. Chairman of the committee presented before the Assembly on Friday that the Gambia operates in critical situation which requires enforcement of tougher measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. Details of that in this report.
The Special Select Committee of the National Assembly on the implementation of the state of public emergency said the further extension of the state of public emergency for a period of 21 days must be based on strict adherence to its implementation. This came subject to government's request for the ongoing state of public emergency to be extended for another 45 days as it ends by next week. Chairman of the Special Select Committee, Alhaji Mbow, presented that the adjustment was required because isolation centers are both ill-equipped and under-resources in addition to the lack of treatment centers across the country.
Considering the fact that a lot of people in the Gambia continue to live in denial of the existence of COVID-19 and as such grossly disregard social distancing or any measures at public places in the markets, the committee thereby resolved that the state of public emergency be extended to a further 21 days, subject to strict adherence to the implementation of all state public emergency regulations.
In April, lawmakers in Banjul extended the initial 21-day period of emergency for another 45 days that ushered in some restrictions in the field of transport and commerce. The regulations closed all non-essential food outlets, schools, and places of worship across the country amidst public outcry of hardship in the partial lockdown. The 7-man committee observed that borders are porous and as such people continue to illegally enter the country without notice and without being quarantined. In response to their report argued that a regulation to be in place to make it an offense for anyone, transport driver or compound owner, who assists any unauthorized traveler to enter the country or harbors any visitor or guest from abroad in his or her compound without notifying the health authorities.
The closure of all borders must be fully enforced with the deployment of the armed and security forces. The army should be used to reinforce the regional tasks in the implementation of the regulations. The Minister of Interior, in collaboration with the Minister of Health, should ensure that the quarantine and isolation centers are off-bound to visitors 24/7.
The position of deputies was in cognizance of the fact that COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the neighboring Senegal, leading to the steady increase in the number of infections in the Gambia. The Gambia is currently nursing 13 cases of the coronavirus out of a total number of 23 confirmed positive cases since March 17. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Absegay.
We will now go back to the National Assembly in Banjul and speak to our man on the ground, Ibrahima Prasba. Ibrahima, thank you very much for joining us again. Well, there should have been an extension today. How did it end?
Select committee on the matters around the state of emergency made a very strong recommendation, and the committee of the whole house could not approve that recommendation because it was already time for the assembly to rise up for the day. So by evening, a motion was passed for the National Assembly to close for the day and continue session tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday is not usually the working days for the National Assembly, but due to the urgency of the matter, now the National Assembly has adjourned until tomorrow, Saturday, meaning the discussions are expected to continue even before the Minister of Justice had presented the formal request from the government for extension of a period of emergency for additional days.
Now that they are coming back tomorrow to the National Assembly again, what should we expect in tomorrow's sittings?
The discussion on the report should complete before the presentation from or the request from the Minister of Justice. But already, during the debate on today, the whole of today, you could see the the desire for National Assembly members to extend the state of public emergency. You remember that the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia spoke to iAfrica last week Friday, and decided to leave all effort on the hands of the health authorities to say that whether the period should be extended or not. So now the health workers across the country are calling for the continued stay-at-home campaign, meaning that the National Assembly now is left with a very critical option and to extend the period of emergency. But how long is the question? Although the Select Committee recommended in its report that the period should be 21 days, on condition that it will be better than the 45 days that are ending next week, because this period of the ongoing public emergency, according to them, is not respected. Markets, social distancing in the markets is not observed, and people are not putting on face masks. So there must be a difference, according to their recommendation now, for the government to get it in their way that the state of public emergency to be extended by the National Assembly.
All right, we look forward to tomorrow's sessions, how it will pan out. But for now, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our, of course, senior reporter and correspondent, Ibrahim Prespa, speaking to us live from the National Assembly in Banjul.